Monumental.
Interesting.
Unexpected.
Inspired.
Beautiful.
Personal. Heartfelt.
Pinedale, Wyoming, a small town surrounded by the breathtaking beauty of nature, a place where people know each other by name. But even here, in the heart of rural America, there are invisible battles that can't be seen, only felt. This is the story of J. Bob Bing, a young man whose life was tragically cut short, but whose legacy is now sparking a powerful movement to raise awareness about mental health and suicide prevention. J. Bob Bing was a son, a brother, a friend. He grew up in this small town where the community knew his name and his bright, loving spirit. But behind the smile was a struggle that no one fully understood. In 2016, Jay tragically died from suicide, a devastating loss for his family and the entire town. In the wake of his death, his family, united in grief, made a powerful decision. They would turn their pain into action. The Jay Foundation was born, a nonprofit organization dedicated to raising awareness about mental health, spreading the message of hope, and helping to prevent suicide in communities across Wyoming and beyond.
Adopted from South Korea, and then his parents owned the cowboy shop. So it's actually been in Pinedale for 76 years now, 77. Bob's parents started it. And if your parents have a country western apparel store, you're gonna be in there all the time. And Jay loved being in there. People always saw him, he was so excited to be in there. But specifically, Jay was always wearing cowboy boots. And his mom, she would share so many different stories, but specifically, she wanted people to understand that if he had shorts on, he was in his boots. If he had sweats, they were tucked in. And sometimes at night, he'd fall asleep in his boots. And so she would take them off. But he did. He absolutely loved his cowboy boots. In March of 2016, Jason was traveling a lot, specifically 1 week for work. He spoke to Jay on a Wednesday and again on a Friday, just kind of that surface level conversation. And Sunday, he woke up to a few missed calls from his dad, Mike. And when he called Mike back, he said, "Son, I don't know how to tell you this, but Jay took his life last night." A year later, went to Bob and Carolyn and said, "I'd like to start the Jay Foundation." And they said, "Great, what does that look like?" Jason said, "I don't know, I just know I need to do something."
The mission of the Jay Foundation is clear: to prevent suicide, to reduce stigma around mental health, and to create an open conversation, especially among young people.
I think it's cool. It's a cool way of being aware of mental health. When you wear them, you're like, you should think you have people to talk to.
I think wearing my Jay boots, it gives me that reminder that I'm not alone in a sense. I think that it kind of comes from the boot check kind of idea where it's like, remember to check in on your friends. So it also reminds me that I'm not alone in this and stuff, and it's okay to not always be okay.
And people matter, and it's important to know that you also matter too.
One of the schools in which the Jay Foundation has had an immediate impact is Green River High School.
Oftentimes, mental health isn't really a thing that gets brought up on a day-to-day basis, especially in like a high school setting. Everyone's kind of just focused on school, extracurriculars, not really like what's going on behind all that.
I think that talking about mental health makes it more known that it's okay, and known that like everybody is most likely struggling with something to do with mental health.
Every Monday we try to do a boot check, and just make sure like the weekend was good for each of us and see if there's anything we could help with for this week.
I hope that it will help people to understand that though we are in different groups and we're different people, that there's still that common denominator of we all have a brain and we all have things we go through, and we need to be more understanding of that no matter who you are or no matter what group you're associated with.
The foundation works directly with high schools, raising awareness, providing resources, and supporting students who need it most. The need for this kind of work has never been greater. Suicide rates have more than doubled over the past 20 years. In the United States, 22% of high school students reported having seriously considered suicide in the past year. 10% have attempted it. Among adults ages 18 to 25, 13.6% had serious thoughts of suicide in the past year. And within college students, 36% have been diagnosed with anxiety and 30% with depression. Students face an immense amount of pressure from their peers, from their academics, from social media, from expectations they place on themselves. It's more important than ever that we provide them with the tools and resources to manage their mental health.
All too often, when a high school student dies from suicide, classmates say the same thing. I didn't know he was struggling. Then we're all left with what ifs. What if he had felt safe enough to talk? What if I had said something? What if we as a school had made it okay to say, I'm not okay?
At first, people think it's a little awkward. People think it's a little awkward because they're not used to other people caring. They think life has just become, you do your own thing, you come to school, and you go home.
That is the purpose of the boot check, to check in with each other, to ask the tough questions. And when someone says, I'm fine, it's like our parents always say, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. I know it can feel awkward to talk to your classmates about their well-being, but I would rather feel that discomfort from a conversation than feel the pain from having an empty chair at graduation because one of my classmates is no longer with us.
The Jay Foundation isn't just about statistics, it's about stories. It's about real people like Jay, like so many young people across the country, who are struggling, but who don't always know where to turn. In high school, the weight of those struggles can often feel insurmountable. But it's in these very spaces, in classrooms, hallways, and sports fields, where intervention can be most powerful. In fact, suicide is now the second leading cause of death among U.S. college athletes following accidents. The pressures on young athletes are immense, from competition, injury, and balancing academics. Each day, over 100 men in the United States die by suicide, a rate 4 times higher than that of women. In fact, male deaths account for nearly 79% of all suicides in the country. In 2022 alone, a record high 49,500 lives were lost to suicide, more than any year before it. These numbers are staggering, but behind every statistic is a life, a family, a community. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the scale of the crisis. But there is hope. The work of the Jay Foundation proves that one voice, one person, one family can spark change. The Foundation's impact has been undeniable. From school programs to public awareness campaigns, Jay's family has touched countless lives, reminding us all that mental health matters, that reaching out is a sign of strength, and that no one is ever truly alone.
Having the Jay Foundation and the Boot Checks Weekly is super vitally important to the culture of our school.
I think the Jay Foundation as a whole is important because it's adding community and multiple layers of support for kids. It's great that we have, counselors and social workers and teachers that care about the kids in school, but we only see you guys for little snippets. Your friends see you so much. They know the things about you. They can tell when you're having an off day that we might see, but they're going to be more tuned into those things to be able to see, they're acting different today. They're doing something different. They posted on social media, because we may see some of your social media, but most teachers or people in the school don't see all of that. So they're just more connected. So it adds that extra layer of connection and support for students to help them feel like they've got a resource to be able to go. And some kids have those relationships with teachers, but not all kids have those relationships with all staff. So it's more safety nets, so that if something happens, we've got multiple sets of eyes watching to make sure that we get in time, and if anything happens.
Keeping the kids connected to one another and checking in on each other at least every week to make sure that people that they love and care about are doing okay.
As we've gotten more social media and more ways to communicate, we've gotten worse at communicating. It's easy to post a status update and make things look like everything is great, and to look at someone else and see that their life is perfect because of how it looks on social media. But we're not really great at having those one-to-one conversations that go beyond, oh, how's your day? Oh, it's great. And then we just move on. It's the J Foundation, and what we're doing with the boot checks is helping go beyond that and be like, okay, how's it really going?
Bringing it to the forefront with students and having them being able to reach out to each other is huge, because peer support is so important, especially at the high school age group. And I've seen that a lot more student connection and involvement with each other, and being able to talk about mental health and see how each other is doing has been really amazing to watch and see the students take charge.
We wear our boots on Wednesdays as a way to just get the whole school to be involved. But if you see a kiddo wearing their boots on a different day, that can be an opportunity to be like, hey, I like your boots. How's everything going? Because now you've got it in your head of, oh, that's something that I know ties back to the J Foundation. And it just offers more opportunities to have those conversations and helps us to be more aware of each other.
Sometimes most people expect, your mental health's fine, got to check in on other people. Now this kind of enables everyone to check on each other. Everyone checks on each other, if that makes sense. Every Wednesday we do the boot checks, and not necessarily just for seniors, but I think if the whole school started doing just boot checks, it's just like kind of a symbolization of check on one another, make sure they're all right.
It kind of all added up once we got the boots and heard the story though.
Yeah.
Like at first it was just like, we're getting boots. And then it was like stand taller, be more confident and prideful for wearing the boots and having them, being yourself. We don't need the boots to check on people though. Mm-hmm. It's also, because not everybody wears the boots, but everybody needs to be checked on.
With each conversation, each outreach, the message is clear. Mental health is as important as physical health, and it's time we start treating it that way. The J Foundation is proof that out of tragedy, something powerful can emerge. The spirit of J. Bob Bing lives on in every person who chooses to listen, to speak up, and to reach out. Together, we can make a difference. Together, we can save lives. If you or someone you know is struggling, help is available. Reach out. You matter. Your story isn't over.